I think we're going to have some real conflicts between linear thinking politicians and linear thinking governments and exponential technologies. What we forget, the fact of the matter is that the laws that govern this country are 200 years old for the most part. Probably 99.9% of the laws are hundreds of years old, and they were written for a very different time when change was far slower. And we also have a system in place where the incumbents, through political contributions, can maintain the status quo. And then add to that fact that the purpose of government is to stabilize things, right? People like going to sleep at night and waking up in the morning and knowing that the world hasn't changed. Still have my job, still the same rules apply, whatever it is, we like stability. But the world, the only constant is change, and the rate of change is increasing. And if I'm an entrepreneur and I can come out with a process that's 10 times or 100 times better than the incumbent that's making large political contributions, there's going to be a clash. And so we're going to see those clashes more and more as healthcare gets disrupted, as teachers' unions get disrupted, as all the fundamental transportation, taxi fleets, limousines, all these things are going to change. And we're going to have a challenge of how do we deal with this, because governments do not change gracefully. And so that's one of my biggest concerns. And I talk about this when I go globally and talk that the smaller countries, the more nimble countries, or the more centrally controlled countries are going to be able to adapt to these exponential technologies much faster. So I go to the Emirates, once, 2, 3 times a year sometimes. And UAE, 50 years ago, the leaders of the United Arab Emirates were growing up in one-room, dirt floor buildings, and today they're atop multi-billion-dollar skyscrapers. They've seen change. And so they're far more adopt. You're going to have places like Holland, Israel, and centrally controlled governments where they're going to say, drone companies in the US, come over here. Genetic engineering companies, come on over here. And there's a myth that you can regulate against some technologies. You can't. Because if you say it's illegal to do that here, all that means is the entrepreneurs leave the United States and they go someplace else. When Bush 43 came into presidency, and during his presidency, he said fetal stem cell research is not going to be allowed. All that meant was that those researchers and the knowledge went to South Korea, to China, to India, other places. We went from #1 in stem cell research to #8. So putting aside the moral and ethical issues here, we're living in a world of porous borders. And you can't regulate against something.